really simple process. And I would encourage you, if you have not done so already, complete the application today. There is a waiting period, as there are for most things. So you want to make sure that you're in the queue now, so that when the funding comes, you're ready to take advantage of it, and that it will be available for you.
So, Melissa, I know you can't make any promises, and I won't hold you to this. But if we apply today, when can we expect to receive those funds? Because we've got some comments coming in, and they're saying, listen, I need help now. How long is she
Yeah,
talking about? So
I
kind of
hear you.
share with them a ballpark kind of number
I
we
got you.
can take.
Absolutely. I just was actually on the phone with the SBA this morning preparing for this conversation today. And I'm going to tell you what they told me. And that is, we can't tell you a time. And I know that's really frustrating because I am in the same position. The SBA, they do have a phone number, and I'll gather it so that I can share it with you all on this information device. You can call. They give you a confirmation number when you apply. I screenshot that number so that it's saved in my photos when I need to recall it. And you can call and follow up on your application. I will tell you what they told me, though, and it's not positive news. But they don't have a timeline, unfortunately. The only thing that I can recommend that you do now is apply. Don't wait. Even if it comes back that you don't need, the assistance after all, at least you are in the queue, so that when the money becomes available, they can direct deposit it. Now, that's one other hint, is that they do ask for your banking information, including your routing and your checking account number. I would encourage you to provide that. And I know that that's kind of against every advice that you've ever heard, particularly from a lawyer, but they do have a $10,000 provision for an advancement if that is something that you require. And the only way they can get that to you the fastest is through your direct deposit. So do complete that information, fill that part out, and call them every day if you need to.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We all need that information because everyone has been talking about the loan, but I don't think any of us know how long it's going to take. So thank you for clarifying that for us, that we just don't have a time right. So Greg, I want to ask you a question specifically because I'm getting some comments from our viewers where they're saying, I am a contractor and this
Mhm.
has been a hard season for me. I don't think I want to sing. I don't think I want to play anymore. I just want to walk away from it all. So, Greg, what
Well,
encouragement would you offer those independent contractors who depend on gigs, who depend on opportunities to make their living? How do you stay motivated? Talk to us.
absolutely. That if I could be 100% above board, that is a difficult question to even answer because, in the arena that we are in, that is an unfortunate, side effect, for lack of a better word, being that if we don't work, we don't get paid. And in this season, normally with a musician, singer, what we're able to do is if one situation kind of closes, we still have some other streams that might at least keep us afloat, until we're able to get back to some level of stability. Well, in this situation, everything, as I mentioned earlier, has really shut down. I mean, tours have shut down. Engagements, because of social distancing and you can't have crowds larger than a certain amount, have just all suspended. So because of that, those of us who may be contract, who depend on the payment that comes with the work that we provide, are getting slammed, and we are, there's a suffering that's happening with that. The best thing that I could do, the best thing that I could suggest, excuse me, would be to, again, try to tap into that virtual world. If you're a musician that plays a musical instrument, um, perhaps you need to try to inquire, as my sister said, in your inner circle about some studio work. If there are artists or things like that who need tracks produced, or need just a musician to play one instrument on a track with other musicians, things of that sort. If you're a singer, now may be the time that you may need to hit Amazon, take a few dollars, and maybe invest in a recording device or something of that sort, that you could possibly get some recording done while at home. But the reality of it is, in this season, for us and what we do, virtual is going to be the way to go.
Yes. So I think we all can agree we've been there. However long you've been in business or you've been managing your brand, I think everybody has had that moment where you wonder, is this really what I need to be doing? And so I want to start with you, Shantae. Can you share one vital lesson that you've learned as a professional, as a business owner, that can benefit our listeners and our viewers? What's one valuable lesson you can share with them?
So what I've learned is that your business has to be your purpose and your passion. It can't just be something that you do. I mean, you have to spend time not just working in your business, but you have to work on your business. You want to make sure that you're a legitimately set up business, because in times like these with the SBA loans and even the Paychex loans, there are certain documents that they're going to require that you have to be legitimate. So are you set up? If it's not something that you want to do, that you're passionate about, spend this time thinking, okay, is this something that I would do even if I didn't get paid for it? No, everyone wants to get paid, but you don't want to be somewhere just for a paycheck, if that makes any sense. And so I've spent some time, even before this pandemic, is this something that I really want to do? Because what you find is that people will use you until they use you up if you allow them, or they think that you should, use what you have to do something for them for free, and it gets very discouraging at times. But if it's really what you are supposed to be doing, everything will work out and you will figure out a way to help others, but also be mindful and help yourself as well.
I want to stay with you, Shantae, because you just used an adjective that I think has become a junk drawer term for many of us. You said the word legitimate. So I want to stay with you for a second. Talk to me a little bit about that. What does it mean for us as business owners to have our paperwork in order and be legitimate? What do I need to be able to say that?
So it really does mean everything. So the first question I will ask for someone who says, I'm a business owner, I'll say, well, let me see your business plan, or let me see your corporate book. Let me see your
Nice.
operating agreement. And you would be shocked at the number of people who are just an LLC because they paid $100 on the Secretary of State's
Come on.
website. And you you will find yourself in a pretty pickle when it's time for liability things, or you need to apply for an SBA loan, or you need to go to your bank to get this paychecks. They're not available to you. You don't have a business checking account. You don't have an EIN number. And so I really deal with my business clients from formation to succession. We want to start, grow, and succeed in business, and we deal with it from that standpoint. You can't be my business client if you don't have business insurance, if you don't, because I can't protect you when it's time for you to be protected. I can't help you when it's time for you to need help. I can't offer you suggestions or the options that my colleague on this webinar is saying, these things are available to you, because unfortunately they're not. So this would be the time that you want to make sure that everything is in play, and then find someone who can help you to achieve that. We all bosses, but are you a legitimate boss? Are you really in business, or is this just
Oh,
your
that's
hobby?
tweetable. That's
That
tweetable.
is.
Listen,
That's tweetable.
listen,
So I
listen.
want to borrow a little terminology from you, and I have a question coming in specifically for Melissa. You talked about formation to succession, and I have one of our viewers asking the question, how can I ensure that I'm investing properly during this pandemic? Are there some investments financially that I can make to secure myself? Is what our viewer is asking. So, Melissa, can you talk about investing and securing our legacy? What are some tips that we can implement in a pandemic to ensure that if there's another, because they're saying that
Will
the
be
coronavirus is fall. So if there's another season like this, how can I be prepared? Melissa, share with us.
Absolutely. Well, I want to go one step backwards if I can, and that is that we've all heard you should have 3 months of an emergency fund. I've also heard the term 6 months of an emergency fund. And I think that, at least from my vantage point, I always thought, oh, I'll be fine, right? What's going to happen? I'll remain healthy. I'm young. I'm vibrant. I'm working out. I'll be just fine. I think that what this has shown all of us is that that 3 to 6 month emergency fund is critical. My advice initially is get that first. Let that be your first investment. Now, that's really hard to do now if you don't have an income now. I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that. But you want to invest in yourself. I believe that God gave us all gifts. And I know that every single one of us, everyone on this panel, obviously, everyone even listening, you've got a talent, a gift, something to share with someone. And now you've got some extra time to do that. So spend that time and figure out, how can you be of service? And I think that when you are thinking about being of service, you will probably get money for it. It may not be the direct causation, but that is something that you should be primarily focused on, is what can I do to be of service? What am I good at? What do I naturally have talents for? And then once you start getting that money, it's really important that you start to save some of it, because now we all know things can happen. And that 3 to 6 months emergency fund really makes you feel just a bit more comfortable, a bit more prepared when things are so very uncertain. So for my ballers who already have that emergency fund and have some money and some resources set aside, and you're thinking, now's a good opportunity for me, what can I go invest in? I will tell you, the whole stock market's on sale, right? There are so many companies that we know are going to come back, and they are technically on sale right now. Now is a great time. And this, again, not fancy. You can open up an E-Trade account. And what I always do is I invest in things that I enjoy myself. I shop on Amazon probably more than I should. So I hold stock in Amazon because I think it's a company that if no one else supports it, I'm going to support it. So I believe that it would be successful. Now is a wonderful time to be in the real estate market. A lot of people, particularly in Atlanta, have already had an introduction into what it means to hold property, to buy property. Now is a great time because so many folks, unfortunately, are in a season of needing to cash out of their investment. So if you're prepared, this is now your time to cash in, and you can buy real estate cheaper than it is normally. And then when things come back around, and they will come back around, you'll be sitting in a wonderful position. I just want to share one other thing. The last recession, if you will, that we had, I think was around 2007 through 2009. That's when I opened my business. And it was a very nervous thing for me to do. A lot of folks said, why on earth, of all the time that you could have opened a business, would you choose now? But so many brilliant businesses were formed in that recession of 2007, 2009. That's when Uber came about. Just so many brilliant companies came during that time. So I would encourage people, plant your seeds now. And you'll be telling a story like mine, that I opened my business when, everyone else was running and hiding, and we're still standing here, 11 years later. So now's the time to invest in yourself.
I actually agree with you.
Wait a minute. I feel like bossing up. Y'all feel like bossing up? I feel encouraged by it. I just had to stop to let y'all know I feel something, because there can be growth in a season of crisis. Back to you, Shantae. I just had to say that.
Yeah, I was just going to piggyback because we were having a conversation the other day, my friends and I, that circle that I talked about, and they said, well, I heard once before that a recession is when millionaires are made. And I was like, what say you? What do you mean? Well, interest rates are zero. Right. So if you have anything that's financed, refinance at 0% interest. Real estate is on sale. It is on fire. Gas is $1. Amazon. Who knew that if you had $1 stock in Zoom, that right now you could be a thousandaire? You know what I mean? So now is the time, and it doesn't take much. Like you said, it's E-Trade. It's simple, penny stocks. It's very easy to do that. But have a plan and be strategic about it, and figure out, how can I grow out of this? How can I find that silver lining in this and make it work for me? Let it be my testimony. You know what? When everybody was trying to figure out how they gonna eat, I was figuring out, listen, the feast I'm going to have in 5 years when this thing is over and I blow up. What? Okay, I'm retiring in 2 years. Just you have to have those kind of conversations just to keep your mind, because you can sit and watch the news and buy into all of it, and it will take you down. I mean, I have family members who have passed and they're in the hospital, and if I allow that to consume my thoughts, I won't move. It's very hard. I have family members in the hospital. We can't visit because of what's going on, and somebody got diagnosed with. I can go on and on, but my point is, you can choose to live and figure out, how can I make this work for me, or you can give into it and be woe is me, and I just can't do that.
That is excellent. And this is what I love about the Boss Up webinars. Whenever you guys start sharing helpful tips, our questions start coming in, our questions start flowing. And so I have a question from one of our viewers. They are asking, what can I do to stay motivated? As you shared, Shantae, we're in a season of social distancing. You're not seeing your clients physically. You're not physically going into your offices. So how do you now, without the pressure of clientele necessarily seeing them physically, wake up at the same time, develop some type of pattern, make sure that you're still being productive? So I want to start with you, Greg. How do you stay motivated? Like, what is your regimen? Do you have morning devotion? Do you have any devotional tools that you can share with us? Talk to me. How are you guys staying motivated to produce?
Well, that's a wonderful question, and it's so funny because I was up, with this newborn. I spent a lot of hours awake right now, and just throughout this night, overnight, I spent some time just in some meditation and studying and reading. But there are two things that I could say that could answer that question. First thing I'd say is, my answer to, I'm sorry, y'all see my wife coming in behind me now. Um,
It's all right.
hey, I'm a family man. Which is right on time, because when people ask me, they say, "Man, Greg, we see you. You're doing movies. You're doing television. You at this church. You're at that church. You're always on stage. You're doing this. You're doing that." My answer is always, "I got kids." So,
Yes.
my first motivation, I have a family. And so
Yes.
I can't afford to let anything, stop
Wow.
me or slow me down. I've got to keep going, because recession, in season, out of season, pandemic, guess what? I still got to take care of my family. And so those are things that I
Yes.
have to do. That's my motivation. The other thing I would say that motivates me is, just last year, I surrounded myself with a team. I have a Greg Kirkland
Yes.
Jr. team that's inclusive of social media, PR, management, project management. I just have different a team of about 8 or 9 people that we sit quarterly and just plan. And in that, even in this season, just 2 or 3 weeks ago, my project manager got into our group chat and said, "Okay, what are ways that Greg can be influential right now? What are some
Wow.
things? What are some things that Greg can be doing? How do we keep him out there? How do we keep his faith?" So my team keeps me motivated, because they're finding ways to say, "Okay, here's an opportunity, here's an opportunity, here's an opportunity." And in those things, there's motivation in that. So I think that I've heard all of us say it at some point on this call, on this broadcast, that you've got to surround yourself with people that are like-minded, not that will sit
Yeah.
back and have "woe is me," and "Well, child, you heard what I heard, and I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I ain't got time for that." I get it, I understand, but what can we do though? What can we do? And not to belabor the point, because I know we have to move on, but I want to say one thing that I've heard you all say as well. One thing was having a service that you can offer. And the other thing that I heard you all say is that now is not the season to be doing anything for free. And there's no shade in that. There's no shade in that.
No.
But we have to learn,
Not at all.
especially as business owners, how to offer a service in a time where service is necessary, that we do need to be of service to people. But this is not the time that I can offer that service for free. So we're gonna have to find a way somehow in there, like Richard Pryor said in Car Wash, "For a small fee, I'll set you free. Be near thy God today." We got to find a way to make this thing work, because I got kids.
So viewers, thank you so much, Greg. We need that perspective. To our viewers, we are so excited that you spent your Friday night, your Good Friday night with us. And unfortunately, we're out of time, but that's why you have to tune in next week, okay? And so I want to give all of our panelists an opportunity to share how we can contact them, because I don't know about you all, but I will be calling Melissa and I will be calling Shantae when I fill out my SBA loan application. Amen.
That's
So I'll start with Shantae. How can we contact you? How can we patronize your business and support you further?
So our website is bridgesfarmer.com. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram as Bridges Farmer LLC. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at Shantae K. Bridges ESQ.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us. Greg, if you could share with us, how can we support you in this season and connect with you?
I would just love for you all to stay connected. On Instagram, which is where I am primarily. My Instagram is at the See It brand _ of Greg Kirkland Jr. I'm on Facebook as Greg Kirkland Jr. Twitter is Greg Kirkland Jr. My website is gregkirklandjr.com. You can also keep up with the choir at the See It Choir.
Excellent. And Melissa, how can we contact you?
Absolutely. Well, as I shared, I'm newly on Facebook and Instagram with my business, and that is Hawkins Legal Group, and that's HAWKINS Legal Group. You'll find me on Instagram and on Twitter. We're pushing out messages at least once a day. I am personally also on Facebook, and that's at Melissa Hawkins. Our website is www.hawkinslegalgroup.com. We have an interactive website. You can email us questions. We'll respond back. You can also contact us through that. And we always remain, my staff is working remotely. We remain available for you over the phone. And we do teleconferences, even in the season of ceasing, we continue to work.
Amazing. So I told you guys you wouldn't be disappointed. It is our prayer that through this webinar, you are empowered and encouraged to continue to do what you do and do it well. We are the House of Hope Atlanta under the direction of Dr. E. Dewey Smith Jr., where we believe that life with God is better in every way, every day. Until next Friday, we are praying God's richest blessings upon your resurrection weekend. Bye, everybody.
Amen. Bye.
Bye.